All right, today we are going to work with cylinders. This is a cylinder shape. I have a circle on the bottom and a circle on the top. It's essentially the shape of like a tin can. And we are going to find the surface area and volume of these. There is a nice formula for each of these. We will get to it in a minute. What I want to do is break down all the surfaces on this cylinder. Essentially, we have a circle at the top, right? I have a circle at the top with a radius of 3. I have another circle at the bottom with a radius of 3. And then wrapping around the whole cylinder itself is essentially a big, long rectangle. I have the height of 7 feet. And then this distance right here is essentially the distance, this distance right here is essentially the distance around this circle. We call that circumference. And that word circumference, we had a formula to find the circumference of a circle was 2 times pi times radius. So I'm going to essentially find the area of this circle and the area of this circle, and then the area of this rectangle, but I'm going to use my circumference formula for that. A nice kind of more formalized version of this would be that the surface area of these two circles is both pi r squared. So I have two circles that are pi r squared. Sorry, this is surface area. And then I have one rectangle, length times width. So I have a formula where I just do 2 pi r, that circumference, times the height of my cylinder, where that 7 feet is my height and 3 feet is my radius. So that radius of 3 I'm going to use in that part here. I have two circles that have an area of pi r squared. So my formula I'm going to bring down here, surface area, 2 pi r squared. I'm always going to have 2 times pi, and then I need my radius squared, so 3 squared. I also have the rest of my formula. There's another piece here. I have a whole rectangle that I'm solving for. And I'm going to use this formula, 2 times pi times my radius, which in this case is 3, times my height, which in this case is 7. So I have these two pieces of information that I'm going to be typing into my calculator. 2 times pi times 3 squared. With this, I want to do exponents first. Exponents first. So 3 squared is the same thing as 3 times 3, which is 9, right? So really, I have 2 times pi times 9, and I will type that into my calculator. 2 times pi times 9, and press equals, and I will get 56.548. That 8 is going to make my 4 round up. I want 2 decimal places. So 56.55. I'm going to add that to that 2 times pi times 3 times 7. I'm going to type that all in my calculator. 2 times pi times 3 times 7. And I get 131.946. That 6 makes my 4 round up, so 0.95. 2 decimal places for everything. I'm going to add those together to get my total surface area. 56.55 plus 131.95. I get a total of 188.5 feet squared, because this is the area. The area of my bottom circle, the area of my top circle, and the area of the rectangle that wraps around it. That is my formula for surface area. For volume, I have the same idea. I still need to do the area of my base times my height. So the area of my circle and then my height. The nice thing is my area of my circle is that equation, pi r squared, pi times 3 squared. And my height, the height going up my cylinder, is 7. So pi times 3 squared times 7. So I'm going to take my volume, if you want to write a nice formula up here, is really just pi r squared times your height. So my volume is pi times 3 squared times 7. And we already know that we should do our exponents first. That 3 squared, 3 times 3 is 9. So I'm going to take pi times 9 times 7. And I can do that in my calculator. Pi times 9 times 7 is 197.920. That 0 lets my 2 stay the same. So 0.92 feet cubed. And that is my volume. So those two equations up at the top here are going to be super helpful. As long as I know my radius and my height, I can plug them into each equation. So let's do down here. My radius here is 7, and my height going up that cylinder is 15. So if I'm doing 2 pi r squared, I'm going to take this exact formula from the top of my page, and I'm going to fill in the blanks with the r's and the h. 2 and pi are going to stay the same. 2 times pi times r squared. My r is 7, so 7 squared. And then I have this other part, my rectangle. 2 times pi times my radius is 7 times my height is 15. These two pieces I'm doing separately. I want to do that exponent first. 7 squared. 7 times 7 is 49. So 2 times pi times 49 is what I will type in my calculator. 2 times pi times 49 is 307.876. That's 7. That 6 behind it tells my 7 to round up. So 0.88. And then the other part of this, 2 times pi times 7 times 15. 2 times pi times 7 times 15 is 659.734. That 3 is going to stay the same because the 4 behind it does not make it round up. So 0.73. And when I add that together, I get a total surface area of 967.61 feet squared. Volume, same formula from above, pi times r squared times h. My r is 7, so I'm doing pi times 7 squared. My height is 15. Exponents first, 7 times 7 is 49. So pi times 49 times 15. And when I plug that in my calculator, pi times 49 times 15, I get a volume of 2,309.070. So that 7 stays the same, feet cubed. That is surface area and volume. The last one I'm going to get started, and you will need to finish and give your answer on the next slide. But I want to focus real quick here. My height, this is a cylinder turned on its side. So my height is going to be 12. Now my circle has this length here that is 10. 10 is not my radius. What is my radius actually going to be? 10 is my diameter, so my radius is actually 5. So my height is 12, my radius is 5. So when I'm plugging into my calculator, surface area, I have 2 times pi times my radius squared is not 10 squared, it's going to be 5 squared. 2, then the other part of it, 2 times pi, my radius is 5 and my height is 12. You will need to plug that in the calculator, answer that on the next slide, as well as solving for the volume.